So I'm actually working on a Dungeons and Dragons game. Only this game is meant to be a slapstick dark humor because that's the way I roll. See what I did there? Roll, as in dice roll. Anyway, hopefully the administration staff of D&D Online Games will appreciate the creativity and intelligence behind this game and not shoot it down or threaten to ban me because of my use of foul language and the fact that it actually requires you to think a little. And it's not meant to be a game for those fucking chaotic neutral, I was raped as a little girl, elf type characters. It's meant to be a satire of our world. It's meant to be a satire of our common moral scope. And those sorts of games usually don't attract the typical D&D player, which is ironic because they're supposedly these pseudo-intellectuals who have to endure, getting bullied in school and shit, and yet don't stop to think about the implications of their own moral paradigm, or just the political structure in general. That's what this game was about. I would have just written a book about it, but it's not really the type of thing that you can write about. It's not meant to be a story. It's more like a setting. That's what I'm good at. I'm good at imagining settings. And this is something that transcends just my life in general. Like, Warhammer 40k is a setting. Looney Tunes is a setting. A story has a beginning and an end. A setting is simply something that exists, and it exists perpetually. It might change, but essentially that's what it is, and you just live with it. A lot of American cartoons are settings, whereas most animes are stories. They have a beginning and an end. Unless you go for those shonen ones like Bleach or Dragon Ball Z, then those border on settings. So what this comes down to is this is a political satire about a world where it's just like our world, same bullshit, same technology, only they don't vote the way we do. They vote by playing a video game. And because I love Warhammer 40k, I have chosen Warhammer 40k as the scapegoat for it. It doesn't have to be Warhammer 40k. If I were to ever, write a story about it, I couldn't obviously use Warhammer 40k for copyright reasons. But the point of the premise is to have that flavor of Warhammer 40k, Space Marines, ugly-ass aliens, things like that. And, essentially, you are playing this massive online RTS game to vote. You cannot vote without this RTS game. Guess what? It's only a matter of time before they start charging people to vote, or you have to buy certain products to be able to vote, because we are already in a corporatism. This is only a matter of time, and it probably wouldn't technically be like that, but you can guess that it would be something similar. That's what this is about. I cannot foresee the future. I'm not a fucking fortune teller. If I was, I'd be more prepared for the shit that happens in my own life. What I can tell you, though, is that things tend to have a rhythm. They tend to have a certain mannerism about them. And you can pretty much assume that things are only going to get worse. So, how this basically plans out is that people buy this game, and by extension of having this game, they get to vote because before a battle begins, let's say capture the flag. They're asked a question based off whatever state's law that server is on. Let's say Prop 8 for California. Let's say California wants to institute Prop 8 for gay marriage. And you either vote yes or no. Then the game begins after you've made your vote. And based off whether your team of yes or your team of no wins, that determines whether or not the vote actually counts. So in fact, it doesn't really fucking matter what you vote for. It matters who wins. Voting and winning are two different things. Kind of like now. Only the difference is this does not attempt to hide that fact. Nor does it attempt to hide the fact that corporations and government have merged into one conglomerate and work within each other to lower dissonance. The fact that people are so distracted by this mass consumerist game, they fail to comprehend the fact that they're totally fucked. And that's pretty much how we are today, only it's not that integral in our society. But we're massively distracted by lols, cats, and porn. And most of us are too uneducated to make an objective vote on anything, but yet they take their ass down there to vote anyway, not even knowing whether or not how the system works. Most people don't even fucking know that you don't even vote for the president. Your representatives do. Your Senate does. You're basically just a poll. And the state laws that you do affect, you know barely anything about. They don't fucking tell you for that reason. So that you make an uneducated guess, and they get to look better than saying, let's make a coin flip. Because that's essentially what it is. It's just the stupid masses are the coin, and the flip is the voting lever. So, as I was saying, you play this RTS game, capture the flag, Slayer, whatever, and you fight each other, and whichever team wins, that's the state law enacted. And of course, it has all the implications of any video game. Terrible game imbalance, mic spamming, assholes, conspiracy to gang up on one guy, things like that. And at least now it makes sense, as opposed to in the real world, where a massive game imbalance is probably only intentionally designed so we buy future games in the future. I mean, let's put it this way. If Dawn of War was so good the first time around, why would they bother releasing a sequel? Why? Because Dawn of War had terrible game mechanics. It was clumsy as hell. So everyone was looking forward to Dawn of War 2 fixing that. Guess what? They weren't planning to fix that. They're never going to fix that. And that's why a lot of MMOs and shit have subscription fees and convenient patches every week. Because you're always hoping that the game will get better. It never gets fucking better. How many times do I have to throw this slogan? It gets worse. Why do you think Nintendo games don't have subscription fees and shit? Because they're still back in the freaking 80s and 90s. They don't care about, getting your money up repeatedly. They figure they can screw you out of $60 for the game initially, and that's how they make their money. And it's worked for them. It's worked for them sticking to the classic formula of just releasing a heaping pile of shit, you buy it, and you take your gamble with it. And they figure, hey, they already got their money, fuck it. They'll just make a Super Mario Galaxy 2, and you'll think, oh, this is going to be so much better than Super Mario Galaxy 1. Guess what? It isn't. It gets worse. So, that's essentially what I'm trying to say in this D&D game. That I'm poking fun of society, of modern video gaming, of everything, and hopefully they'll see that. As I even expressed in the description, I said that, it's not like in our world where some twat server admin gets to kick you. They can't afford to kick you. That would be eligible for conspiracy and voter fraud. Because since playing the game is essentially as voting, they can't kick people. It doesn't matter how dick they're being. They just can't kick them. They have to let the game play out and just, see how the dice fall. There also is no law against pornography or any of that bullshit. So in some ways, it's a lot better. You can actually play the game you paid for and never have to worry about any of this bullshit of server admins banning you or, you not being able to say some naughty word or any of this bullshit. The unfortunate thing is that your state's law is based entirely on the fall of the cards of how the game planned out. Your entire life is hung on a string by whichever faction happens to be winning at that particular time. And, it's hard to explain. I wrote it down on the D&D thing. I would have copy-pasted it on the YouTube description, but it's way too long for that. There is no way the character limits would allow that. So, I'm just having to go by thoughts in my head here. It's grim dark, but I don't want to call it grim dark because that always implies this gothic tone, serious business. I call it grim derp because stupidity trumps diabolical. And our world is predominantly diabolically stupid. People are indeed evil, but they also are incredibly ignorant. So, when they're not busy being malevolent, they're just busy sabotaging themselves and others with their own fucking stupidity. So, that's what this game is trying to convey. And hopefully that'll get the point across, and hopefully I can get up on my soapbox without getting banned for it, without being seen as some terrible guy just because of my outlook on life and the fact that I'm trying to educate people just a little. I'm not trying to change your perception of reality. I'm not trying to turn your world upside down. I am just giving you a new outlook because I thought that's what the fucking internet was invented for. The fact that we can communicate and talk to each other as human beings. And as human beings, we have different interpretations of reality that we like to share with other people so that they can share our pain and share our happiness. And we can all gain a little bit more knowledge by just talking to other people. You know, how disturbed of me, how ridiculous of me to believe that. So, that's what I'm trying to say here. And hopefully it'll plan out for me, and hopefully it'll have interest. And I just figured I would bring that up to you. Just narrating the fact that this D&D game is a project of mine, and I've done similar projects in the past, and they've all fallen on their face. People generally don't like dark humor. It's too in-depth for them. You know, they like dungeon crawlers, and I'm okay with dungeon crawlers. I like dungeon crawlers myself. But I am not satisfied with just pretending that everything is fine. If I can in some way introduce how bad life is, but get a little bit of amusement out of it, have a little sense of humor about it, so that it goes down easier, it's just not that sour, repugnant taste of reality, hey, why not? So, that's what I'm just saying here. Maybe I'll make a part 2, because I really am drawing a blank here of how to describe all of this, but essentially, that's it. I'm just trying to make a game to convey how stupid it is that how we get treated on the internet. Because that's another thing. Like I said, in the game, you cannot be kicked off a server. And by extension, you can't be banned. Yeah, you don't get fucking banned in my world, my imaginary D&D world. It's unfortunate it's not a reality, but it could convey what could be a reality. The only way theoretically you could get banned is if you were in jail anyway, so it wouldn't matter. Because, like our world, they do attack the hackers and the pirates, but it makes sense in this setting because hackers would therefore completely ruin the democratic process. Piracy would be voter fraud. It'd be like, you know, taking a dead guy's name and claiming to be that dead guy. So, yeah, that would be reasons to punish people. But that's not how the world exists. Pirates are just taking a game that you can infinitely reproduce and using it to have their own personal amusement. Ooh. Hackers are using their hacking abilities to have an unfair advantage in some games, and usually they don't. It's not even that they're petty enough that they need to win that badly. Because if they're that immature where they have to cheat in order to win because they can't stand losing, they got worse problems than fucking ruining the game. Most hackers do it to troll. They intentionally hack the game to piss off people and get amusement out of that. Ooh, some people are jerks. I never would have guessed. So, that's what I'm trying to convey here. The fact that we are just as vicious, just as, prone to punishing people over mundane things as in this setting. Only the fact that in this setting, it's rational. There's actually reason behind it. So what does that say about our world? And maybe people should start thinking about that. Maybe people should start thinking about just how terrible our life is when we look at these grimdark settings, and by comparison, the grimdark settings look pretty fucking shiny and rainbows in comparison. I would rather live in a zombie apocalypse or Warhammer 40K's grim darkness, everything's war bullshit than I would right here, right now. Because at least those things make sense. At least their violence and tyranny makes sense. Ours doesn't. There is no reason our lives should be the way they are as they are today. But they are. And not enough people are thinking about that. Not enough people are talking about that. And every time someone tries to fucking talk about that, someone shoots them down. No politics. No this. No that. Why the fuck are you willfully being ignorant? And if you're willfully being ignorant, you have no right to tell me what to say or what to do. Fuck you. You're stupid. You want to be stupid. So be stupid on your own goddamn time and leave my account alone, or I will show you what being stupid does and DDoS you, and you'll be too fucking stupid to do anything about it. And then you can sit in your chair and flail your arms and bitch about how some meanie on the internet crashed your stupid little website. So, that's really all I have to say.